This is another petition from the public. The petitioner in this case is a official distributor of a company called Del Negro Playing Cards. The petitioner submitted a rule petition requesting a change in the rules governing how playing card vendors are treated. The petitioner believes the current rules cause his organization to have significant challenges to be able to offer their products in gambling establishments in the state. He described the process of becoming an approved vendor in Washington State as both arduous and costly. The petitioner believes these requirements and associated costs discourage many businesses from entering the Washington State marketplace. The petitioner did not specify a specific rule change, but urged the commission to consider this issue more broadly. He believes, as I said, the current rules and cost of licensure prohibit new vendors from offering items like playing cards, chips, dice, and altogether make it difficult for new competition in the marketplace. Currently, rules define playing cards as gambling equipment. Gambling equipment distributors and manufacturers must be licensed in Washington State. All licensed organizations must pay annual license fees. The current base license fee for distributors is $770, while the base license fee for manufacturers is $1,650. If adopted, this rule change could require several amendments throughout WAC Title 230, including but not limited to WAC 230-03-200, which defines gambling equipment. The proposed rule change is a policy decision regarding the classification of playing cards and other similar items as gambling equipment, and the process for licensing manufacturers and distributors of those items. Staff's recommendation is, again, under the Administrative Procedures Act, the Commission must act on a petition within 60 days of receiving it. The options are to either initiate rulemaking proceedings by filing the rule as proposed for further discussion, or to deny the petition in writing.
I believe the petitioner is here. Dino Rosario. Do you have anything?
Dino, you should be able to unmute yourself.
He has mics.
Okay.
There, okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I'm not sure what the rules of decorum are for these types of hearings, but I have a prepared statement, and after that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. So, good afternoon, esteemed members of the Gaming Control Board. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm here to formally request a change in the rules governing how playing card vendors are treated by the commission. Currently, we view the process to become an approved vendor in the state of Washington as we feel it's both arduous and costly. The extensive requirements and high associated costs create significant barriers for new companies looking to enter the market. This situation discourages many businesses from attempting to operate within the state, limiting available options for casino establishments. One of the unintended consequences of the current system is that it effectively protects a monopoly. By making it difficult for new vendors to gain approval, the state inadvertently supports the dominance of existing players, stifling competition and innovation. This lack of competition can lead to higher costs for gaming establishments, and ultimately the potential for creation of a gray market, which is something we're seeing in other jurisdictions. I represent Del Negro Playing Card Company here in the United States. They are a renowned Italian manufacturer with close to 100 years of experience in producing high-quality playing cards. Our longstanding tradition of excellence and innovation has made us a trusted name in the gaming industry worldwide. However, despite our extensive history and proven track record, the current regulatory environment in Washington State poses significant challenges for us to offer our products to gaming establishments in the state. Over the last few years, there has been considerable consolidation of playing card manufacturers in the United States. Many of the vendors initially approved in Washington are no longer making playing cards, leaving only one company currently licensed to sell playing cards in the state. This consolidation further exacerbates the monopoly issue and underscores the need for regulatory reform to promote a more competitive market. In light of these issues, I urge the Commission to consider revising the rules to streamline the approval process for new vendors. By reducing the complexity and cost of becoming an approved vendor, the state can encourage a more competitive market, fostering innovation and providing better options for gaming establishments and consumers alike. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I look forward to a favorable consideration of this request. Should you require any further information or wish to discuss the matter in more detail, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions?
Yeah, if I may. Thank you, sir, for your statement. I guess I'm trying to really understand the problem here, and just for a little background and I may be coming at this the wrong way, but half a dozen years ago or so, the Commission looked at completely revamping our licensure and fee process, and instituted that back in, I think, 2018, 2019. We had members of various gambling activities, Commission staff, myself, and I think one other commissioner that participated in several meetings over the course of probably 6 months, and tried to look at various activities and kind of how the distribution of expenses were distributed by activity. One of the things that is unique to Washington versus many other states is we have no general fund support. We're 100% funded through licenses and the co-regulation of tribal gaming. So therefore, we need to not only do the licensing and regulation aspects through those resources, but also criminal enforcement. So that means if you're going to participate in the gambling industry in the state of Washington, you have to, pay whatever kind of commensurate amount is that it is. And we deemed it, at that time, it seemed to make sense for there being a percentage applied across a particular activity, whether it's be manufacturing, house bank card rooms, punch board pull tabs. Each one of those activities have an assigned kind of rate for their gambling activity. And within that, there are kind of a max amount that could be paid if you're within that activity, as well as an initial, the initial base fee. We wanted to make sure, and I mean, if we need to readdress it, I think we certainly could. But it seemed to be prudent at the time, certainly, to make sure that a base fee was both, enough of an investment so that people weren't just throwing in applications and tying up an entire, a whole bunch of the staff time in endeavors that were never going to go anywhere, but also be, at a level that entrepreneurs could say, hey, I think I have a good idea that I'd like to break into the Washington market. So trying to find, that fine line or that kind of sweet spot for that, we did our best, certainly back when we kind of created this system. So I don't see it as arduous. I'm not, and I guess in position to argue with you, but it feels to me like, very broad public participation in trying to create those base fees and then rates that we established for the various activities. So I don't know if you're asking it. Oh, well, and I have one more point, I guess, is I have been advocating for quite some time that the design of the system allows us to be able to look at particular activities in kind of a silo. We can determine, you know, based on how much of a percentage of the overall gambling in the state, you know, is this activity doing their fair share? Are they overpaying? Are they underpaying? Kind of for the overall operation of the Gambling Commission and the agency. So I like where your head is on like, you know, maybe looking at all of these sorts of things. I don't know exactly, you know, how whether you're heading the direction I guess I see it. So there's probably a question in there, but thoughts?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the comments, and let me give you a little background as to where I'm coming from. So I'm also a part owner in Shark Trap Gaming and Security Systems. You guys recently just approved us about a month and a half ago. We develop shufflers, right, for the casino environment to shuffle the playing cards. And really what I'm referring to as far as the fees is the amount of money it cost us to send your agents down to our factory in Las Vegas, right? I think they came for about 3 days, and you know that was all on our cost, right? So I'm taking that and now extrapolating that cost out to say, you know, as an example, if you needed to go and see the factory in Italy, you know, it cost us tens of thousands of dollars at Shark Trap because we're in Las Vegas. To send your agents to Italy, right? We're talking about maybe $100,000, right? Just extrapolating that out. And that's really what I'm referring to as far as the fees. I think the licensing fee at face value is just fine. I think it's the background information that's required, and we're not opposed to it. But what it comes down to is, you know, specifically in the state of Washington, we'll never sell enough playing cards to recover that fee to become licensed, and that's really what I'm more speaking to. So I don't know if there's and again, it's not clear in the rules, at least from what I've seen, that you know, maybe there's a different way to skin the cat, so to speak. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. But that's really where I'm coming from with this petition, and it's really from experience with my other company getting approved in the state. And like I said, you know, that's all costs that we bear up front before we even put a single product inside the state of Washington, and that can become cumbersome.
Can I follow up?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and so I think that kind of, if you were on for the prior rule petition, I mean, our legislative declaration requires us to provide strict regulation and control. I've been on this commission for, you know, a decade now, and I've not heard anybody from our staff suggest that we could accomplish our legislative requirements by not doing the due diligence that they've done for the past 50 years. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how we would be able to accomplish, you know, our legislative charge without, you know, continuing to do the due diligence that they do. So yeah, I'm not sure if staff has any further comments based on kind of, now that we've narrowed down what it is.
Certainly we could, I think it still becomes a policy issue to some extent. You know, at what point are you willing to absorb that risk that if we don't go on site to verify manufacturing processes, security of gambling equipment, the production, to make sure that it's not easily able to defraud players, et cetera. I mean, those would be things that I would be looking to you all from, because this, I'm not hearing a problem other than the cost, which unfortunately I get is hard. And while it's not specifically outlined in rule, it is actually in chapter 230.05, but 946.070 subsection 5 says that we can assess the additional costs that we incur in the pre-licensing investigation. So, I think that's where I'm at with this topic. There is, I get that operating in Washington, if you're not quite sure what the economic viability for the costs that would be incurred for a manufacturer's license, we do have one tool that is a manufacturer special sales permit, which is a one-time permit. It is not a license, and you can't have ongoing relationship activity with vendors, or excuse me, with licensees, and you can sell directly, manufacturers can sell directly to licensed entities after they receive the permit, but it allows for gambling equipment to be sold in the state, as long as it's less than 25,000 during the permit year. And there's a few other things there. So that is only $275. It's a one-time thing. And the application submittal process is very limited, but that is the only other option to see, gives you an opportunity to see if you're what you're going to offer to licensees, the gambling equipment that you would make available to licensees would be economically viable to go forward in a long-term manufacturer license.
Right. Thank you. For that, you're going to go ahead and move into other public comments.
Hello, Commissioners. Again, Victor Mena. I completely understand where the petitioner is coming from. I've been purchasing cards in the state of Washington since 2001. We have a very limited selection of vendors. As a matter of fact, we are down to one. This actually did come up a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, that there was a change in ownership in the current vendor who is licensed. And the change in ownership was a substantial owner adjustment to their license. And it was found that it was possible that someone might not have been cleared or able to clear a criminal background check. And if that person was a part of that company, then that would jeopardize the license of that manufacturer. And that could put us all in jeopardy as far as being able to acquire probably a significant piece of equipment. We can't do card games in the state if this manufacturer is deemed unlicensable based on a corporate change that could occur. And this company is large enough that something of that nature could happen. So I completely understand the position of the commission and the staff of wanting to ensure that the product is right, okay? But I have been also down to G2E to see several other card manufacturers. And when I speak to them about this issue, one of the things they come back to me with is, well, we can't get licensed there because our cards are manufactured in China and they've got to send 2 agents down, and now they've got to pay for all this overhead that they don't see the return on the investment. So they stay out. But that's kept the barrier to a product that we're kind of beholden to as far as even monopolistically speaking. So it is a challenge. I think it is an interesting discussion for you guys to take up and see what solutions could be had. Thank you.
Thank you. There is another hand raised.
Yeah, if I may, just as a springboard on that comment, sounds like the gentleman is an operator there in the state. I don't know for sure, but it sounds like he is. And we deal in other states, as an example. In Nevada, we're licensed. We're licensed in California, Arizona. We've just filled out the paperwork to become licensed there. And really, what they look at in those states, and I understand they're different states in Washington, but they view this type of equipment that we're talking about as associated equipment, not gambling equipment. because in reality, these are perishable items, right? So, depending on the operator, they may change their cards out every 2 hours, and they cancel them out, and whatever the process is there in the state to do that. So these are perishable items, and I understand where the commission's coming from to ensure that everything's being done correctly out of the factory, and that they're not pre-marked and things like that. But what we are seeing in Nevada, as an example, is we are starting to see a gray market form. And in fact, there's a very large operator in Nevada that has purchased cards, like the gentleman has said, unbeknownst to the operator, from a manufacturer in China. The representative there in Nevada represented themselves as the manufacturer. They are in fact not the manufacturer. And it's very difficult for the operators to know whether or not they're the manufacturer. So we're in front of Nevada right now explaining to them that there's a big difference between a distributor and in fact a manufacturer. And to the gentleman's point, outside of USPC and our company, the majority of the playing cards in the United States come out of China. And in fact, in some of these cases, specifically the one here in Nevada that I'm referring to, I myself can call up that company, send a logo from, let's just say, Emerald Queen in Washington, and say, I need you to make me 1,500 decks pre-marked, and as long as I have money to pay for it, they will send those to me. Del Negro, USPC, as an example, you have to be associated with the casino. There's a vetting process from our standpoint on the customer side in order for us to even fulfill any of those orders. The Chinese manufacturers that the gentleman referred to, they don't have those standards, let's call them. So again, I think it's to the point where what you will see, right, is you'll see that USPC will continue to raise their price, and it makes it difficult for the small card rooms really in Washington. I think the big tribes are always going to get their cards, but it will make it more difficult for the small card rooms to be able to get their cards. And to the extent that they can get their cards, it's going to cost them, a considerable amount of money compared to what it's cost them for the last, say, 3 years. So,
Thank you for that. Any additional comment from anybody? Okay. We will go ahead and close the public comment period and see if there's a motion. Next month or?
I can't be the only commissioner with a voice.
I guess I'll say in that I would like to see a more detailed petition by the petitioner, because the one that was submitted is vague. And we did get more information here today, but I would like to see one that is more detailed as to the significant challenges that are listed in there. The part of the process that you believe is arduous. We already talked about costly, but I'd like to hear from you as to why you believe it's arduous, and then actually look to the exact rule and cite to the exact rule that you would like to see change. So I would like a more detailed petition, because I just feel as though this is too vague to be considered right now.
You have a motion?
I move to deny the request because the petition is too vague and not sufficiently detailed. Yeah, I move to deny because the petition is not sufficiently detailed, but I encourage the petitioner to resubmit with more information. The motion that I can make? No, yeah.
So can I throw an alternative?
Friendly amendment, sir? Yes.
Well, I think, I mean, I concur. I think that, well, there's two things. I think, I mean, certainly if we initiate rulemaking, then it becomes our rulemaking process. We then control, I mean, it would be much better if we had, you know, a better clarity, a recommendation for what rules should be changed and what the language should be. Because one of the things, you know, just kind of Victor's comments made me say, okay, well, I mean, do we need to create a pool if house bank card rooms want to, you know, defray some of the costs for some equipment that they want down the road? I mean, is there a way to do that? Or so there's, I mean, and that's just like off the top of my head. I'm sure there's probably some other things. And I'm wondering whether the petitioner would want to withdraw the petition rather than have it being denied, do a little more work and bring forth a new petition that's more complete and more, and hopefully we just through the discussion have provided some avenues to consider by the petitioner and then bring it forward, you know, here in a month or two.
Right. Yes, I withdraw my motion.
All right, so petitioner, you do have the option to withdraw your petition if you'd like, and work with putting it based on our feedback, submitting a new one.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and do that. Like, you know, to her point before, yeah, it's vague, obviously, right? Because you know, there's no specific area that we saw that would kind of speak to, you know, some of our concerns as far as the background and the cost of the background, right? And defraying some of those costs. So I'd be happy to withdraw the petition and come back using some of the comments that you guys gave us today. To resubmit here in a couple months. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. To initiate rulemaking has been withdrawn by the petitioner.